evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to season 6 of The People's Choice here on WCEG Talk Radio, the Worldwide Community Empowerment Group. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been far too long since last time I had a chat with you. And so we're going to go back till about 1933 and have a fireside chat, as Franklin Delano Roosevelt would do, which if you've been listening to this radio station and been listening to me for several years, you'll know that he is my favorite president to always brag about. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited to be back with you for season 6. It's just like watching a reality show. We are back and we have some interesting things that we're going to discuss this particular year. But you know what's been amazing more than anything is that we have been surviving despite all of the things that have been transpiring in this life. Now, this pandemic has caused a lot of sadness, has caused a lot of rifts, and even has caused some things to fall into place, where some people will say fall out of place. But the one thing that we have noticed, if you have ever watched or if you can continue to watch the news, you notice that politics has continued to roll on like a steamroller in America and throughout the nation. Brothers and sisters, surviving politics during a pandemic is probably one of the hardest things that any of us could do, because all the while you're trying to maintain your health and your personal well-being of you and your family, you're spending a lot of time trying to figure out what the government is doing and if they're doing anything to make this a better society and a safer place health-wise for you and your family. And so not only are people concerned about health, they're looking to the political leaders to inquire what they're doing to ensure that in the days, weeks, and months ahead, that we can come out of this pandemic without any blemishes, without any burns, without any scars. Well, ladies and gentlemen, here in Georgia, we have several things that are happening here, but there are, of course, several things that are happening over the nation. But I just want to highlight some of the things that have been transpiring as we continue to survive the political season during this pandemic. Well, here in Georgia, the good old state of Georgia, UGA, go Dogs, the good state of Georgia, I don't know if you all know this, if you're a Georgia resident, listen, you don't need to worry about money because Georgia has a surplus right now. As a matter of fact, Georgia deposited $1.6 billion into its account here recently, where it already had a $2 billion balance that was left over from the year before. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, don't let any political figure, don't let anybody tell you that Georgia doesn't have any money. Right now, we're sitting at about $3.5 billion of surplus in our state coffer. Now, the problem comes in the people that we have elected to serve us on this scene. You see, there's going to be a fight in the state legislature on what to do with the money. Understand, $3.5 billion as a surplus is not something that you see every day. So in my opinion, one of the things that we need to immediately focus on is infrastructure. We know that President Biden has signed some of that into the COVID relief bill, that there's infrastructure that's going to take place, but Georgia has enough money to do it on its own. Listen, just a real quick point. On Saturday, I was driving to Macon, Georgia, and unfortunately, like always, they're working on Interstate 75. You know, I really believe that I've helped build this highway because they've been working on it ever since I've been born. Ladies and gentlemen, if we have the money that they say that we have, $3.5 billion, there's no reason that Georgia should not be able to improve all of its roads. Now, where that surplus falls in the metro area, I'm not sure. How much of the money that the metro area will receive, I don't know. But I would hope and I would insist that you contact your local state officials, that be your state senators and your state representatives, to encourage them to bring some of that money. If you live in the metro area, if you live as far south as Noonan, as far north as Johns Creek, as far east as Conyers, as far west as Douglasville, maybe even Carrollton, I think all of that is considered the metro area. It is imperative that we do something about the roads that we travel on each and every day. So I would encourage you, with $3.5 billion that we have sitting in our budget, that we encourage our local officials to use some of that money to fix our roads. Because ladies and gentlemen, I personally have had to get 4 alignments in a year's time because of Atlanta's awful roads. Now, it might add to the fact that I have some aftermarket bigger tires on my car, but that shouldn't have anything to do with 4 times in a year that I've had to get in alignment, because every time I bump something, the car goes a different way. So ladies and gentlemen, another thing that is popping just off the wall here in Metro Atlanta, or in Atlanta specifically, is the mayoral race. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very familiar face that is all of a sudden right back on the scene, and apparently is doing extremely well in this race to be mayor. What I don't understand personally is, why would you come back after having served 2 terms to try to come back in and do more? I watched the video the other day of this particular mayor, former Mayor Kasim Reed, who is now vying to be the 61st mayor of Atlanta. He had been the 59th, and now he would be the 61st. I saw a commercial that was touting the things that he had done during his previous mayorship. And I couldn't do anything but laugh, because one of those things, me and my team and I were extremely responsible for those things happening. But of course, it was under his administration, so he was able to talk these things as his ability to be mayor. But my question is, why not give somebody else an opportunity to serve now? There are, if I remember correctly, at one point there were 17 individuals, 17 that had registered, and then there were 3 who were write-ins who were running for mayor of the city of Atlanta. Now, maybe it's just me. I don't know what the office holds. I don't know what the budget is for the office. I don't know what the budget is for the city. But all of these people are trying to be mayor of Atlanta. For what reason? I don't get it. What do they know that I don't see? Now, unfortunately, I no longer live in this city, which I'm not even mad at. But the fact is, I don't understand what is the big joy about being the mayor of Atlanta. Here's something to consider, though. And this is in any political election, ladies and gentlemen. When you have 17 individuals plus the 3 write-ins, so 20 individuals who are running for one political office, there's no question whatsoever that there will end up being a runoff. And this, again, puts a strain on the voter. This not only puts a strain on the voter in the regular conditions of an election, but it puts a strain on voters in this pandemic while an election is taking place. So what we will find now is that however many end up making it to the top, because now Felicia Moore, who has been an avid supporter and who has been working tirelessly on the city council for years, who currently is the president of the Atlanta City Council, she and Mayor Reed, or former Mayor Reed, are now in a dead heat as far as the poll numbers are concerning. And Andre Dickens and a few others are, behind, but they don't even have, if I remember correctly, they don't have double digits. And if they do have double digits, the people following Reed and Moore are maybe at 11, 10, maybe 12, 11, and 10% of the actual polling. Whereas Reed and Moore are at 40-something% in the polls concerning their ability to become Atlanta's 61st mayor. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to make your decision based on who you believe is worthwhile becoming the next mayor of Atlanta. But I want you to consider this. When the statements are made from an investigation point, when they say the mayor's office, they aren't talking about the people who work around the mayor's office, who walk by the mayor's office, who walk into the mayor's office. They're talking about the mayor. And so if I'm the only one that has paid any attention to the fact that since the former mayor has left office, there have been a bunch of investigations on the mayor's office that have been taking place. So that makes me question why anybody would want to re-elect this person to be mayor of the city of Atlanta. Now, I don't live in Atlanta anymore, so I can't vote for him. But I would question you to vote for someone who's already caused enough issues in the city. You know what? Let me back up. You're going to vote for who you want to. I apologize for bringing my personal attitude into this cycle concerning this mayoral election. Listen, what I want you to do, if you don't do anything else, make sure you vote for the candidate who best represents your constituency and what you believe is going to be best for the city of Atlanta. Anybody who knows me knows that I feel some kind of way about that guy. And yes, I have no problem with saying it. These views are of Joe Flint and not the views of WCEG talkradio.com. Ladies and gentlemen, so pay very close attention to the Atlanta mayoral race because it is heating up. And come November 2nd, Atlanta will elect, November 30th, because there's no question. Now, if for whatever reason, one of these candidates pulls forward and is able to win 50+1, because understand, here in the state of Georgia, you have to have a 50+1 vote ratio in order to be deemed the winner. And so if Felicia Moore or Kasim Reed or Andre Dickens or whoever else is out there running for mayor, if they should obtain 50+1 on November 2nd, then we will have our 61st mayor, or Atlanta will have its 61st mayor, for the next 4 years. However, if neither of the opponents should reach the 50+1 percentage that is needed, then November 30th, will be the runoff election. So let me bring that back to your attention. November 2nd is the general election for the mayoral race in Atlanta. November 30th is the runoff election. And I've done this far too long to know that we will have a runoff. So there will be a runoff election November 3rd. So ladies and gentlemen, if nothing else, make sure you get out and vote. But this is my concern for 17 individuals who are running for office. You know that you're going to split the vote. You're going to split the vote tremendously. Now, if former Mayor Reed and President of the City Council, Felicia Moore, should maintain their current leads at 40%, then it will turn out good for them. But if not, then we're going to find ourselves not only having extremely long lines based on the 6 feet recommendation from the CDCs and everybody else concerning the coronavirus and the new Delta variant, then the lines are going to be out of this world come election day. Now, forgive me, but I did not go back and look to see what, if any, early election days are available. But when we come back in the following week, I'll make sure I have that information for you. But the fact is, these lines are going to be astronomically long because of, the wait will be astronomically long because of COVID. Surviving COVID in the midst of all of this is extremely hard. So those early election dates are October 12th through the 29th, ladies and gentlemen. October 12th through the 29th. October 12th through the 29th are early voter election days, or early voting days for the election. But it's a concern to me, ladies and gentlemen, that we will have to stand in long lines based on the fact that the pandemic is still going. Early voting is extremely important. I've always done it. I encourage you to do the same thing. If you're able to early vote, please do so, because what it does is it gives you an opportunity to go out and take care of that business without waiting for election day to get out there and do it. But if for some reason you don't make it during those days, then November 2nd will be the general election. And if by chance we find ourselves into a runoff, November 30th will be the runoff election. And if you notice, ladies and gentlemen, in the past few years of elections here in Georgia, the runoff has even gone on a little bit further, but I digress. You can order or get your early absentee ballot or early voting ballot at the Secretary of State's website. If you don't know it, just simply Google Secretary of State, but it's SOS Georgia, and you'll be able to obtain that early voting absentee ballot, ladies and gentlemen. So here's some other top issues that are facing our nation and country. Let me backtrack here, forgive me. Make sure, this is extremely important, ladies and gentlemen, when you go to vote, hear me clearly. Make sure you have your state ID, your official ID. You cannot have a valid vote. Not that you can't vote. You cannot have a valid vote without a valid ID. You can vote on a provisional ballot, but I encourage you not to do that, because if you don't make it back in the days that are allotted in order for you to prove your identity, then those ballots will be tossed out and they will not be counted. And the person that you will have thought that you made the difference for in becoming the next mayor will not have gotten your support because you did not return with your state ID. Ladies and gentlemen, it is very important. It is extremely important. It is paramount. It is fundamental that you take your IDs with you. In addition to that, pack your patience, because you're going to need it. You're absolutely going to need to be patient. Take your chair, take you some snacks, take whatever it is that you need to make sure that you're able to withstand the day of voting. Because I'm just going to be very honest with you, this is not me being negative. This is me being honest. There are going to be some lines and there's going to be a way, and you're going to need to prepare yourself. What they say, make a plan for voting. So make a plan to get out there and vote. But more importantly, vote and make sure that you have your ID when you get out there to do so. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to kind of switch gears a little bit. Oh, last thing, I'm sorry. Final day for registration is October 4th. You need to be registered to vote by October 4th in order to vote in the upcoming November election. October 4th. You heard it here on WCEG, the People's Choice. So don't tell me that you don't know. Don't come asking questions later that you don't know when this is taking place. It is extremely important that we do these things, ladies and gentlemen. So something that we have seen in this continued surge of the pandemic, something that we've seen in the continued push for people to get vaccinated, is that governors across the nation are continuing to have their legislatures to put in laws to get rid of mandates of masks. Recently, the Arkansas governor, Asa Hutchinson, says that he made a mistake. He said that he made a mistake by pushing for this law to be in effect, that state and local municipalities could not enact a mask mandate. But now, because of the Delta variant attacking his state and many other states, he says that if hindsight, of course, he would go back and ask for that law to be removed. As a matter of fact, Governor Hutchins called for the state legislators to come together for a special session to get rid of that law, but they decided that they didn't want to do that. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that's where we find an issue, and we will continue to find issues in the weeks and coming months until this pandemic is over. When it is going to be over, nobody knows. But what we must do is do the simple things that have been asked of us to do. Now, I was having a conversation the other day with some relatives, our cousins, as a matter of fact, and we were talking about what HIPAA actually outlines. And if I understand correctly, I have heard that based on HIPAA, you cannot mandate your employees, you cannot mandate the children, you cannot mandate people to be vaccinated. I always find stuff like that extremely, it's a gray area. And I say that because to start school for children that are age 5 or 6 or whatever age you start school, most, if not every child, other than for religious beliefs, have to be vaccinated. At some point in your life, I don't care how old you are, at some point in your life, you've obtained some type of vaccination. Now, there are some people who are conspiracy theorists and believe this, that, and the other about what the vaccination does and what it doesn't do, this, that, and the other. But here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. The government, if the government is set out to do what you think, if they're out to do something to you, to take your way, to pull your way, to take your life, this, that, and the other, you're living in the wrong country, because this country is actually far better at taking care of its people than any other country throughout the United States. Well, some are going to argue, oh, I've been here and I've been there. But I will tell you, ladies and gentlemen, and I mean this from the bottom of my soul, you cannot live and get the benefits of America in any other country in the world. There are some other countries that come pretty close to what we do. But that's the reason why so many people, so many refugees are trying to come here to America, because America is the only place that actually does what it can to make sure it's taking care of its people. Now, does America have issues? Of course it does. You can't show me a family that doesn't have issues. You can't show me a car or a church or a house or something that doesn't have issues. But this is a place that is doing its very best. And right now with our current presidential administration, they're doing their very best to make sure that people are getting vaccinated. Whether you agree with President Biden, whether you voted with him or not, whether you agree with signs, whether you agree with the CDC or the World Health Organization, it doesn't matter. What should matter is if we could dial back the spread of corona, do the things that need to be done in order to make life for us a little easier so that we can get back to things the way they were. Because unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, we are now in year 2, because it was all of last year, basically, and now all of this year. And if we're going into 2022 with the same issue, we're going into a 3rd year with a pandemic that has not completely subsided. Now, let me say this. Millions of people, I do understand, have been vaccinated. I don't know what the number is, but it's important that we continue to make sure that others, if you don't choose to be vaccinated, then wear your mask. If you don't choose to wear the mask, stay away. But what I don't want to hear from anybody who doesn't want to be vaccinated or who doesn't want to wear the mask, that the government is the reason why you have this. Ladies and gentlemen, you all have every bit of right to choose whatever you want to do in order to make this life better for you. But I encourage you to do everything that you can to make yourself and those around you safe. Ladies and gentlemen, not only is Arkansas's governor, Asa Hutchinson, dealing with this issue, but the Republican governors our Republican governor here in Georgia actually called a special election to have, excuse me, let me back up. The Republican governor in Arkansas, again, called that special election to have that law overturned, but none of the people want to overturn it. None of the members of their state assembly want to assemble to get any of that done. So that tells me, ladies and gentlemen, that people are purposely deciding not to do this. Now, I don't know what the overall effect, but I will tell you now in my role as a chaplain, for a funeral home and working with this on a day-to-day basis, I see more than my share of individuals who come through those doors, whose families come through the doors, with our need during their funeral council hour because their loved one has died of COVID. Now, somebody's going to say, oh, they're boosting the COVID numbers, they're doing this and other. I don't know what they're doing number-wise, but what I do know is COVID is real and that people are dying from it. I suffered from it in December. As a matter of fact, I had it twice last year. Before it was even known that it was COVID, I had it in February of last year, and then I had it again in November of last year. And so, ladies and gentlemen, it's important that we take care of ourselves. And having served in the military, it was no question asked that we were going to get shots and vaccinations for everything. But since not serving anymore, I choose not to get them, but I chose to get this one because I had the virus and I know what it did to my body, and I just refuse to have to go through that ever again. Ladies and gentlemen, the battle that's taking place in Arkansas is taking place in other states as well, all throughout this nation. As we know, Texas and Florida are always back on the ground with these types of issues. More than 250 health officials, ladies and gentlemen, have quit or been terminated or even showed the door since this pandemic has happened. And I'm not talking about just small health communities. I'm talking about large people who are executives and directors of health or medicine in hospitals and in clinics throughout this nation have been escorted out or have quit because they don't feel that there's adequate support for the pandemic. Now, I don't know, again, what you decide for your house, but I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, in this political climate, health has become a political, well, it always has been, but health has become a political tool. And because of this, you have candidates in every state, in every city, using this pandemic as a reason for you to elect them or to get rid of somebody who's currently in office. They're going to use this pandemic to its fullest effect to make you, the voter, the citizen, to believe that it's because of this pandemic that Joe or whoever else is serving in an office right now has not done enough. Some people will make you to believe that because of the pandemic, because of President Trump, former President Trump's push to have the vaccinations available so soon, that he is the reason that so many people are vaccinated. Ladies and gentlemen, the truth of the matter is we, the American people, are the reason that we are either vaccinated or not. Now, it took Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and whoever else are the suppliers of these vaccines took them a year, if not a little bit more, in order to get these vaccinations or these vaccines ready. And there are people out there saying, oh, they still haven't come up with a cure for cancer or a cure for AIDS or a cure for whatever this is, and so on and so forth. But we know that vaccines or vaccinations work. We know that they work. Now, I don't have the statistics on this, so don't quote me. Don't go around saying that Joe Flint said this. But I don't see many people or folks talking about chicken pox anymore. I don't see many people talking about measles anymore. Apparently, when I was a child, I had the scarlet fever. My mother told me. I don't see anybody talking about that anymore. Vaccinations work. So if you're walking around here saying that they don't work, ladies and gentlemen, you are just one of those people who want to have something to complain about the government trying to force you into something. Now, the other part of that, when it comes to the political scene, is there are people of the conservative party, we know that it's the grand old party, the Republican Party, who are very big on the fact of smaller government. Now, I have to be honest with you. And if you know me and if you've watched the show for the past 6 years that we've been on, you'll know that I am at all costs an independent voter. I have voted for both Democrats and for Republicans. I don't have any party that I submit completely to. But what I do submit to are the individuals that serve the needs of my community and my neighborhood, and that serve the needs of my family. So whatever your political party is, when it comes time for me to elect, if you meet the needs of my family and my community, then you'll get my vote. But understand, ladies and gentlemen, that the grand old party is very big and preach constantly with the bullhorn every single day about smaller government. And they are using the pandemic as a way to say that the government, that the Biden administration is pushing and forcing themselves into your home, into making you do something that you ought not do. And, you know, ladies and gentlemen, this is a personal decision. That's where it boils down to. And nobody can make you get this vaccine. Nobody can make you wear a mask. Nobody can do anything. But what I will tell you is that if safety and my health is of utmost importance, then I'm going to do what I need to do to get it done. I don't take the flu vaccine. I've never, since leaving the military, I've never taken it. But because I got sick, because of because of COVID, I took it. And I will tell you, I didn't have any side effects. If I had any, I had a slight headache that day. And I can't tell you if it was because of stuff that I was dealing with or if it was because of the vaccine. But I know that day I had a very slight headache. Other than that, I had no issues. So everybody's body, ladies and gentlemen, responds differently to things. But everybody, all of us who are of the age of 17 and a half and older, who are registered to vote, have the ability to go out here to vote your conscience, vote your family, and vote your community. The problem lies in that we allow the media, we allow not even the media, we allow political leaders to dictate what we think is important. You can get somebody out there who is a 100% Trump supporter and someone who is a 100% Joe Biden supporter. And because they are honed in on the leader themselves and not on the records of these leaders, they will just go with them and believe that they have all the answers. Ladies and gentlemen, I said this on Sunday, and I say this each and every time I ever preach. I always refer back to Reading Rainbow. LeVar Burton used to always say, don't take my word for it. It's in the book. Ladies and gentlemen, there's enough information out here for you and I and for generations to come to go back and read and research everything that you need to know about what's taking place on the political scene and what's taking place on the health scene. But it's up to you to research and to find this information, because if you don't, you're going to be in a herd of cattle like everybody else doing something based on the fact that somebody, whether it was Trump or whether it was Biden or whomever you find yourself supporting as a citizen of this nation, you're going to find yourself listening specifically to them rather than going back researching for yourself. I cannot stress to you enough, ladies and gentlemen, how important it is as citizens that we go back and take the time to research what's best for us and what's best for our family. Because listen, and I don't mean to get preachy here and I don't mean to get scriptural, but the Bible says, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And so in doing that, as for me and my house, I'm going to make sure that my family is taken care of and that they are vaccinated and that they are able to withstand whatever may come out of this. But I'm also going to make sure that they are abreast and aware of what's taking place on the political scene, because listen, magic tricks take place every day in America based on who we have in our offices. And those individuals will tell you to look at my right hand while you ignore the left hand over here, shaking the hand or doing something or taking money out of your pocket. Ladies and gentlemen, this happens every day in our nation's capital. This is happening every day in your state and local government. You're looking at the right hand while the left hand is doing something else. And I encourage you, ladies and gentlemen, to take the time to do something other than what you would normally do, and take the time to go back and research the things that are taking place in our nation. I get myself excited sometimes. Y'all know how I do. When I get on this show, I will run so long and talk 50 minutes all at one time, and then I get dry at the mouth. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm just excited, I have to tell you, to be back with you. I have missed you. I have missed the opportunity to be able to share with you everything that has taken place here on WCEG Talk Radio. Listen, I have to joke with this. My producer just told me to take a breath, so I'm going to take a breath because I do get excited talking to you all, because I miss this platform. I miss the opportunity to be able to share with you all what's taking place in our nation. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been amazing to watch the things unravel and unfold while we have been at home. I will tell you, last year, being in full quarantine was very different for me. It kind of reminded me of my time in Afghanistan, because there I couldn't go anywhere. Now I have a job there. I worked there in Afghanistan every day, but I couldn't go outside of Afghanistan. I couldn't drive my car to the mall. I couldn't go to a restaurant to eat. I couldn't do any of those things. And that's what last year's lockdown, if you will, reminded me of. But it also gave me a lot of time to think. It gave me a lot of time to focus on some things and people in my life that were far more important to me. And ladies and gentlemen, in the midst of all of this, let me say to you, if you still have a job, if you still have a roof over your head, if you still have some money in your pocket, you ought to be thankful. Because again, everywhere in the world is not doing what America has done to make sure that its citizens are being able to survive. Now, am I mad at the money that has been passed out by the government to help me throughout this pandemic? Absolutely not. But what I do know, ladies and gentlemen, is that at some point, my children, or their children's children are going to have to pay back this $1 trillion deficit that America is going to be in. Now, someone says, Joe, they say this every political season. They say this every year. But it's true, ladies and gentlemen. Somebody's going to have to pay back this money. Somebody's going to have to put it back in some way, somehow. We are finding, at least in the metro area, I'm finding that more young people are not taking on regular jobs, Social Security benefited jobs, where Social Security money can be taken out of your check to put into an account for later on. I don't think that children who are behind me are going to even get, matter of fact, I don't think any of them are going to get Social Security checks, because most of them don't work regular jobs. And ladies and gentlemen, it's important to consider that type of stuff when we look at what's happening. Now, granted, I have used every dollar that they have given me during this pandemic. But now, like most, it went back into the economy. So that's the plus of it. Now, that's the benefit of when the government is able to give you money, it goes back into the economy. So it boosts the economy. But understand, ladies and gentlemen, that is us robbing Peter to pay Paul. That's us taking money from one area and putting it in another and believing that we're going to survive. That's saying that you and I both went out together and we robbed the bank. And one for you, one for me. 1, 2 for you, 1 for me, 2 for me. 1, 2, 3 for you, 3 for me. You see what's happening there? More money is going on this side than on this side. And that's what's happening each and every day. Now, I don't want anybody to say Joe Flint is going to stop us from getting our pandemic checks or whatever the name of it is. I have no control over that. If the government decides to give a fourth stimulus check, I'm going to spend it too. There's no question about it. But ladies and gentlemen, understand that that money comes from somewhere, and that money has to be paid back at some point. Therein lies one of the problems that people of the conservative party face often with the liberal party, that is with the Democrats, because they often say that when there's a Democratic president and a Democratic Senate and a Democratic House, that the Democrats take every bit of money and just start throwing it at every issue. They just throw money everywhere in hopes that the fulfillment of money will solve the issues. and there is very little research done to figure out what is the real problem. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the same thing happens when the conservative party, when the Republicans get control of the Senate, the House, and the executive branch. Both parties, and you've heard me say this a million times, both parties, when they have control, will run every piece of legislation that they possibly can through halls to get them done. Because guess what? They have the ability and they have the power. And this pandemic and the issues that we have faced during it are all political. So it's been hard, ladies and gentlemen, to survive a political season in a pandemic. It's been hard to consider who is important and what's important when it comes to looking at the candidates who are currently serving us in office. It becomes extremely hard for us to consider who to vote for when it comes to this pandemic and who is actually out there to do something to benefit us when it comes to making our communities and our schools safe. Each day, there are children, there are schools across the nation who are closing or going back to virtual because more and more cases are popping up in the school. And so it begs the question, at what point will we just say, maybe we need to shut the government down again, or we need to just go in and start spraying the vaccines in the air for people to feel or to inhale at some point in order for us to get back to somewhat of a norm? I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I am tired of wearing a mask. It is, listen, if you've ever served in the military and you've gone into a gas chamber and or even if you've had to do what we call a field training exercise, and you have to, back when I joined the military eons ago, it was called a MOP suit. Now they call it, I think it's called a J-list suit, but you have to put on the gas mask and you put on this suit that will help your body to not be affected by the chemicals and stuff that would take place if there's a gas attack or a chemical attack. Ladies and gentlemen, I feel like every day I'm wearing a gas mask when I put on that mask, but I wear it. And I wear it now. I have one of those little turtle things that you can put on that's supposed to help you to breathe. But I wear this mask regularly because it's important for my safety and my health. I know that I look 19, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm no longer a spring chicken. So I have to be very mindful of my health and everything that's taking place with me as I mature in life. And especially because I experienced the COVID itself last year. I'm more mindful now of what takes place with my health, and I'm more mindful of who's managing my health than ever before. Because as you mature in life, I'm not even going to say older, as you mature, you start to notice things that are happening. You start to notice that you're having to pay a little more for prescriptions, or you have to pay more for your doctor's visits. And ladies and gentlemen, all of that is political because those pharmaceutical companies, those health organizations, those medical, what would you call it? Health benefit organizations have some money going into some political person's pocket to encourage you to put their problem or their product on the market. And ladies and gentlemen, it's very important that we pay attention to things like this. I am grateful and thankful to God where I am health-wise and where I am financially, that my healthcare is taken care of by this wonderful country, this government. The VA takes very good care of me. Unlike most people who have a lot of bad stories to tell about the VA, I don't have any. Now, I will say this, they are still slow in some cases, but the fact of the matter is they are better at communicating and making sure that we are taken care of. So because of this, ladies and gentlemen, I will tell you that it's very important as we move forward in life, as we move forward in this pandemic, that we pay closer attention to everything that's taking place around us. You know, I noticed recently in my grocery shopping, when I would go to Walmart, and I don't visit many grocery stores, but I go to Walmart quite often. I go to Publix sometimes, and it's far in between that I'll go to Kroger's. But when I have gone to 2 or 3 Walmarts in the area, they have been lacking a lot of things. And ladies and gentlemen, that is still because this pandemic is real. There are manufacturers who have not been able to bounce back, but for 2 reasons. Some, the leaders of those organizations took the pandemic money, the stimulus money, it didn't do what needed to be done with it. Some did something with it and hired a few people back, but not enough folks. And then some leaders of those organizations just pocketed a lot of that money. As a matter of fact, a few months ago, I was able to look at a list of people who got the PPE loans. And some organizations and some companies have gotten hundreds of millions of dollars and have gone back and filed the paperwork that they don't have to pay these loans back. And yet these companies have not hired anybody, have not put anybody back into place, but the leaders of these companies are maintaining and having a good time. All of this, ladies and gentlemen, has to do with who you have elected in your local and state government. I can never stress to you enough, ladies and gentlemen, how important it is for us to believe that all politics are local. All politics are local, ladies and gentlemen. So for that person that you see with the yard sign out there who is asking for your vote to be the city council person in your residential area, it's important that you go out and ask him or her, what is their plan? How will they ensure that the community is safe and taken care of? And for that matter, even sanitize in the areas for the people to come. You're going into some government buildings now. Some are still having you to use hand sanitizer, but some places don't even care. Some places don't even have you waiting 6 feet apart from each other. Some people are going to places and they're standing in line like this. But I will say to this, ladies and gentlemen, we have picked and chosen what we will do in this pandemic. And I say this from a spiritual standpoint. I see that there are a lot of churches that have continued to keep their doors closed because they are afraid to bring people in. But all those members of those churches and all those leaders of those churches are out at restaurants, they're in Walmart, they're in the malls, they're in Target, they're everywhere else. To each his own, ladies and gentlemen. But I do encourage you to be wise and be mindful of the people that you're calling leaders, not just on the political scene, but even in your spiritual life, that you look at these people and what they're doing with not only your tax dollars, but with the ability for you to come and worship or wherever you have to be. Look at what the schools are doing. Look at what your job is doing. Look at how they are taking care of you. Because again, all politics is local. And believe you me, in your company, wherever you work, there's a political machine that is taking place in that company. When I worked for a number of years for Atlanta's own Home Depot, there were PACs there, political action committees, and I belong to a PAC there. But that tells you, ladies and gentlemen, that large companies such as that have vested interest in what's taking place in the nation's capital. And I don't know who you work for, but I guarantee you that your CEO and your company's corporate office has some type of political PAC, and they are sending money somewhere to somebody. So I encourage you to research it and see where the money is going and who they are supporting. Ladies and gentlemen, we're coming down almost to the wire of this show, and I'm having to take another deep breath because I found myself getting excited again. But I want you to understand that the things that I bring to your attention, the things that we do here on WCEG Talk Radio, the Worldwide Community Empowerment Network, are to inform you on what it is to be citizens of this great nation. Whether it's from a health show, whether it's from a veteran show, whether it's from a legal standpoint, for whatever show that we have, whether it's from the Hollywood Mogul Show, whatever it is that's out there, it is for us to inform you of what is out here for you to stay safe, to be informed, and so that you will always know what is going on. I count it all joy that I have this opportunity to come to you on this platform to share with you my personal thoughts, what's really taking place, and then a little joy and laughter in the midst of all of it. And ladies and gentlemen, it's important that you take all of this and you use it to make sure that you and your family, that you and your friends, that you and your community are in a safer place. Because there are people who are serving in the highest offices in our land who could care less about what your health status is. There are people who are serving in your local community government who could care less whether you survive this pandemic. There are people who are serving on the state level who could honestly care less if you're going to be able to make it throughout this pandemic. There are people who have been holding back funds for you to be able to maintain. And I think I said this before the summer came, and I'll say this again. Throughout the major part of this pandemic last year, I remember all too often all the leaders of the political parties in the Senate and in the House were constantly making the statement, the American people need this, the American people need that, the American people need you to do this. But ladies and gentlemen, the American people were you and I. But guess who was still getting paid while many people were being furloughed and laid off? All of those people who served in the House and the Senate, making $175,000, if not more, dollars a year in their current position. It's important, ladies and gentlemen, that you think about these individuals and who is serving you on a national, local, and state level. Because these people are the ones that are making all the laws for you and your family. You know, there's a big concern now about the abortion law that is taking place. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a health issue. It really is. Whether you agree or disagree with abortion, it is a health issue. And because there are ladies every day that are making the decision, young ladies and mature ladies who are making the decision every day whether or not to keep or maintain the pregnancy that is now within them. And ladies and gentlemen, there are doctors out here who are every day botching those surgeries, causing issues for those young ladies or mature ladies who are now hurting and having issues beyond that. So you have to look at these things and you have to consider to yourself what's important and who is important when it comes to making sure that my health is taken care of. I see in aging adults, as far as my grandparents, my grandfather, my grandmothers, you know, the things that they have to pay for when it comes to health. Whether you agree with this or not, but I think that if you've worked all your life and you're, you know, retired and on Social Security, I think the least that this country could do for you is to make healthcare far more affordable to you than what it is now. I really think that citizens who are in their golden years should be paying little to nothing for healthcare. There are many services out there for them that allow them to do that. But then there are still a million services out there that are charging individuals astronomical amounts of money to be able to get the care that they need for themselves. And whether you know it or not, ladies and gentlemen, that in itself is a great cause of death of people in this nation and across the world because they cannot afford health care. I don't know how to tell you this, but it is imperative. I remember not too long ago, last year, I think it was, if not the year before, I made a comment about the fact that America should do a better job at taking care of its people and that we should be able to make sure that healthcare is affordable. And someone, I can't remember who it was, asked, why should America make sure that people have their healthcare? Well, either way it go, America is going to have to pay for somebody's health one way or the other. Why not make sure that it's affordable for them to be able to maintain for themselves? Because ladies and gentlemen, healthcare is not cheap. When I worked full time and I worked at companies such as Home Depot and other Fortune 500 companies, I can remember every day trying to figure out, is it worth being able to buy the healthcare that is there in the healthcare marketplace? Because I can remember at some point I was paying near $1,000 a month. And this is the honest to God truth for healthcare for my family, nearly $1,000 a month. Each pay period is, the amount would come out, but that was a lot of money to take care of my family's health. And that was just to have the plan. That didn't include the cost of going to the primary care physicians. If anybody had to go to the doctor for surgeries, the amount of money that had to be paid up front. Ladies and gentlemen, all of these things have everything to do with who we elect to serve us in this great nation. And is it important that you, the American voter, that you, the voter in your community, that you, the voter in your city and state, pay extremely close attention to who's talking about health and who's doing anything to make sure that your health is taken care of. Now, I know there are a lot of folks out there who are, maybe 45 and younger in my bracket who don't feel like they need to worry about it. But as I hear the older folks say every day, keep living. Ladies and gentlemen, I made a post today about this rain and how it's affected my arthritis. Yeah, I got it. And I got it in my shoulder and I got it in my back and my legs. And God knows today my shoulder was killing me while I was out there. But I thank God for the ability to even feel the pain. And so I can know to go back and take care of it with the nerve pain medications and things that I have to be able to take care of that. Not everybody is as fortunate as me, and I'm not saying this in a boastful way, but not everybody is as fortunate to get their medications taken care of. So that's why I encourage you to be able to make sure that you look at the people who you are voting for and who are going to serve you in your local, state, and federal and national offices, because these people have every ability to make sure that your health care is more affordable. These people have every ability to make sure that you are able to get the vaccination. As a matter of fact, the government is almost paying people. Well, in some cases, I have seen paying people in order to get it. And then you have the conspiracy theorists. Oh, it must have something in it. They paying people to take it. Listen, it don't take much for you to convince me to do something. If you give me $150 to do something, hold my beer. I'm kidding. But I'm just saying, it doesn't take much to convince me to do something when it comes to my health. I'm going to make sure that I am taken care of. Because, ladies and gentlemen, you only get one of these. You only get one body. And while you still have it, you ought to do your very best to take care of this temple that you have. You hear the saying, YOLO, you only live once. And I tell people all the time, that's the biggest lie ever. You only die once, you live every day. And so while you still have the ability to live, while you still have breath in your body, it's important that you take care of this temple that you have. Now, do I always do everything that I need to do as far as my health is concerned? No, I don't. But I do the necessities to make sure that I am taken care of. And somebody made the statement, and I probably have talked about this with you before on this show, about being able to live 100 years. And I've asked God to give me 100 years of life. And I definitely would love to live 100 years. But I want to live 100 years being able to take care of me and do it on my own without the support of my children or grandchildren, or if I had 100 great-grandchildren. I don't want anybody to have to do the things for me that I have been able to do for myself up until this point in life. But the only way that I'll be able to maintain that type of hygiene and everything that I do for myself in this current state in life is if I take care of the quality of my life. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said in the beginning, as I said in the middle, and as I'm saying again to you, choosing to get the vaccine is your choice. Choosing to wear a mask is your choice. Choosing to vote for who you're going to vote for is absolutely your choice. Ladies and gentlemen, all of it is a choice. And everything that we do in life is a choice. But if you have an opportunity to get up each day and understand that you have a responsibility to make sure that you are ensuring that those around you, those who live with you, those who know you, are as protected as you are for your own health. I want to see you live a long and prosperous life as best as you can. Whether it's through this pandemic or through something else that we may face in the next 20 or 30 years, I want to see you survive. I want to see you to be able to walk to the polling location in upright standing position and be able to cast your vote for whoever it is that you believe in. But I want you to know, ladies and gentlemen, none of this is possible without your ability to do your own research. Because you can sit and listen to Joe Flint, all one word, like a Tribe Called Quest. You can listen to Joe Biden, Mighty Joe. You can listen to Donald Trump. You can listen to Governor Kemp. You can listen to Governor Hutchinson. You can listen to governors all through this nation. But nobody is going to be able to make the better decision for your life than you, yourself, and your family. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the very bottom of the hour, and it has been a joy, really, to chat with you tonight. I hope that something has been said. I hope that something has been done in this broadcast that will help you to make a conscious decision on what you'll do. Surviving politics during this pandemic, ladies and gentlemen, has not been easy. I'll be the first to tell you that I had to even myself pull back from everything that was being broadcasted on the television and on the radio concerning the vaccines and who's serving and who's doing what and who's not doing what, because it became overwhelming. But what I had to do and what I did do was to focus on my own health and on the health of my children and on the health of those that I love the most. And I wanted to make sure that if nothing else, that they were taken care of. When it comes to elections, ladies and gentlemen, I have to make sure that my now practically grown daughter, who is a student at Arizona State University, go Sun Devils. I have to make it known that, ladies and gentlemen, that I have to continue to encourage her to exercise her right to vote. And now my 17-year-old, who is almost 17 and a half, I have to get her registered to vote to make sure that they know the right decisions to make. Now, they're going to vote for who they deem is important, but they rely heavily on daddy's recommendation. They rely heavily on what I believe and what I share with them. Now, I can't tell them who to vote for, but I do encourage them to vote. And ladies and gentlemen, as we embark upon another political season and another general election, I encourage you to get out and vote. You're going to see from the People's Choice page and from other areas of WCEG Network, you're going to see many avenues or many broadcasts or many posts concerning the election, because it's important, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't do anything else as a citizen of these United States, you need to always, always exercise your right to vote. Don't let an election go by without exercising your right to vote. And if you don't know who to vote for, call me, ping me via Facebook. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but I will give you information that you will need to know about this candidate. I don't mind sharing this information. That's the whole purpose of this platform, the people's choice. You, the people, we, the people, are the ones that elect the folks who serve us in the United States, in the state of Georgia, in the state of Texas, in the state of Arkansas, in the state of Wyoming, in the state of Maine, in New York, and wherever else you live. We the people elect the people. That's why this show was named The People's Choice, because we choose who we decide to be the president, the governor, the vice president, the senator, and whatever else, the mayor office that you elect. We decide. And I encourage you to do all the research that you can to make sure that you are taking care of your family and those that will come after you, but not only your family, that you take care of your community. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's my time. I used to have a coworker who would always say that it was time for him to leave for work. He would close down his computer and shut down his phones and say, that's my time. Ladies and gentlemen, you all know that more than anything, that I love you and ain't nothing you can do about it. This is, yes, a classic Joe Flint rant. This is me going on about the things that are near and dear to my heart. But I want you to stay tuned. We are back in full effect in season 6. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I have always wanted to have this opportunity to be able to be on the radio. And my wonderful producer, who I think the world of and who always keeps me in check, thought it not robbery 6 years ago to ask me to help serve on this platform. And I thank her each and every day for this opportunity. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll just say it's good to have people in your corner. It's always good to know that there are people there who support you despite whatever's going on in your life. It's always good to have people in your corner. Listen, we have come to the last moment in this show, and I want to tell you thank you. Thank you for always tuning in and joining in to WCEG Network and tuning in to the People's Choice. Your host, Joe Flint, all one word, like a tribe called Quest. It has been my pleasure to talk to you this evening. Stay tuned for the weeks ahead and the shows ahead. I'm going to come back with so much more stuff and so many more rants, and I'll probably have some special guests. Trust me, I'm going to talk to you more about this mayoral race that's taking place in the city of Atlanta, and there's one heating up in the city of South Fulton. Ladies and gentlemen, there is so much that is happening in this great state of Georgia, but in these close cities that surround Atlanta. And I want you to stay tuned to see what's about to come forward. Listen, again, the general election is November 2nd, 2021. The runoff election is November 30th, 2021. The early voting will take place October, if I remember, it was the 14th through the 21st. And if I have the dates wrong, please forgive me. I'll make sure that we put them up on the webpage. But early voting is always suggested, October 12th through the 29th. My mistake, October 12th through the 29th. Those days are important for early voting. October 12th through the 29th. If you can't make it then, go November 2nd. And if we have a runoff, go November 30th. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for joining in and tuning in with us on the People's Choice here on WCEG Network, the Worldwide Community Empowerment Group. We thank you and we love you. Good night.